Thank you very much for everyone who has registered and for those of you who are joining us at this moment. I'm very thrilled to be hosting the CCRI Alumni After Our Women's History Month series. And we have here three wonderful panelists that will be sharing their stories and how they have trailblazed really in our state. So to introduce myself, my name is Millie Dela Cruz, and I'm the Donor Engagement Officer at CCRI, where I lead alumni affairs. So next, I'll be introducing some of our panelists. And before I do that, I just wanted to let you all know that we do have a Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. So throughout the event, please feel free to use our Q&A session to ask any questions that may arise. So I'd like to introduce our panelists now. So we have Evelides Bueno. She's the security engineer for Google. So we're very thrilled to hear her story and how she is now succeeding in the West Coast at the moment. We also have Senator Sandra Cano here. She is our senator for the Rhode Island General Assembly and the AVP for Community Development at Navigant Credit Union. So welcome, Senator Cano. And we also have Dr. Ezinwayi Amaike, one of our lovely Alumni Association members, and she's also an assistant professor of entrepreneurship at Johnson and Wales University. So thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight, and we'll go ahead and get started with the questions. So for the first question, I'll go ahead and ask Senator Cano, and then we'll ask the rest of the panelists the same question. So Senator Cano, can you please tell us about your background and experience, please?
Thank you, Millie. I just want to say it's wonderful to be with my fellow panelists here that are so successful, and it's such an empowerment group of women, including yourself. So thank you so much for the invitation. So to talk about my background and experience, I was born and raised in Colombia, and I came to the United States 21 years ago when I was still a teenager, and I didn't know how to speak English, and I had to go through the whole process of learning another language and adapting to a new lifestyle. I was very fortunate to be a student at CCRI, and then after that I transferred a couple of times. I ended up graduating from business administrations, and then later on with a master in public administration. I do work for a Navigant Credit Union, and what I do in my full-time job is I make sure that I help, connect partnerships with nonprofit organizations and help, create policy within the credit union to close the gap to serve the underserved communities or the communities most in need. And that is what I do in my full-time job, but I also have a different hat. I do represent District 8 in Pawtucket in the General Assembly as a senator. And I think that my passion to help people started back when I felt like I was failed in the education in the city of Pawtucket when I was a teenager, and I wanted to get back. So I started in the school committee. I went to city council, and now I'm on the Senate. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, but that is really what I do, and that's where I come from.
All right, thank you very much, Senator Cano. So next question for Ezinwayi. So can you please tell the audience here, Ezinwayi, your background and your experience, please?
Sure. First of all, wow, Senator Cano, that's just wonderful. And thank you all for having me here as well. And, it's awesome to be, with you all. Background. I was born in Texas, and but I grew up in Nigeria, so that's one of the biggest things. People are like, wait, that's backwards. Yes, it is backwards. Usually that's and then it's like, well, you don't sound Texan. That's because I grew up in Nigeria, and so I came back as a teenager, and when I got back, I had finished. I finished my high school diploma at the age of 16. So by the time I got here, I was able to get into CCRI a little bit. By the time I was done and everything, like, ready to go into school, I was about 17 years old, and I made my way into CCRI, where I met some wonderful people, and I know we'll get to, to that, like just explaining more about what I did, the people that I met over there. So from CCRI, I went over to Bryant University. I have a bachelor's in computer information systems, and then went over to Johnson & Wales and got my degree in marketing. I have an MBA in marketing, and so now I went over later on, about a few years later, worked a little bit in corporate America, and also started a business, as a market strategist, and then ended up, going back to school to get my PhD a few years ago, and then after that I became a professor of entrepreneurship at Johnson & Wales University. And just have, it's been quite a process, but I really truly appreciate that all that I've gone through, and on all that where I am. In addition to teaching, I also wear a few other hats. I actually I'm the executive director, founder and executive director of an organization called Micro Enterprise Social Entrepreneurship. It is a mission-based social enterprise business that have adopted a holistic design approach that works with women and youth in developing nations. We have our roots, particularly in Nigeria and Ghana right now, and working to replicate every single thing that we're doing in other countries, in other developing nations. And so, because with our vision is to create an ecosystem of women and youth entrepreneurs in developing nations. And according to the United Nations, there are 54 developing nations. So I've only been to a few, so I have a lot more to go. In 2019, I went to 5 different countries offering training and meeting with NGOs and just working with people, again, offering financial literacy, and again, this holistic approach to women and youth. And, because I really have my passion in doing that. And when I got my PhD, that was one of the things that, the school kept asking about. What are you going to do with this degree that you have? And how are you going to be able to, help others? And I said, I know what to do, don't you worry. And as soon as I was done, because the goal is to go and finish your degree and then go back and save the world, quote unquote. And so I am doing my part, and I really am trying to make that happen. And in addition to that, I am also the one of the principal and founder of an organization called Micro Business Association of New England, working with micro businesses here stateside as well. So there's a lot going on, but it's all good stuff. And I'm very grateful to be to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Azinwai. Very inspiring. So now, Evelidi, so please tell us about your background and experience, please.
First of all, I just want to say I'm very honored to be here with an amazing group of women. Things you guys have both accomplished, amazing. So my background, I was born and raised in Rhode Island, spent all of my childhood there, went to classical high school, then went to URI. I started off majoring in mechanical engineering, but it was pretty intimidating. So I kind of took a step back and took a break. After that, I ended up attending Europe, which is where I figured out that I have a love for computers, and I was able to kind of focus on something that I was really interested in. From there on, that just kind of like lit the fire. I went on to CCRI to kind of just explore computers and software engineering, kind of get a entry experience into that. I got my associates from CCRI and ended up transferring back to URI afterwards. At URI, I got my bachelor's in computer science. After that, I enlisted in the Rhode Island National Guard to take advantage of the educational benefits and everything else they have to offer. After I started working with the Guard, I was hired to work full-time for them as a system administrator. and security analyst, which was very awesome. Like, it was great. I got a lot of experience out of that and met some great people. Soon after that, Google contacted me to interview for them because they had seen my resume at a conference that I went to, interviewed with them and took the jump, and that's where I've been since.
Oh, yes, congratulations, Evelides, for making it to Google. That's huge, and we're very proud of you here at the CCRI community. So I was looking at the chat, and it looks like Tekla says hello to you, Evelides. I don't know if you remember from Europe, but she says hello, Tekla. So thank you very much for sharing that. Now, for the next question, I'll bring it back to you, Senator Cano. So I know you explained this a little bit, but can you tell us what did you do while at and following CCRI?
Absolutely. I think that for me as a teenager, and I have so many things in common with my fellow panelists here. I also came here when I was 16 as a teenager, right? So I think that landing at CCRI was both a blessing and a door of opportunity for these immigrant that didn't have a lot of support in the United States. Only my family, I forgot to say, we came to this country under political asylum because at that time Colombia was really, really bad. My dad got kidnapped, so it was for safety reasons. But then, so coming to a different lifestyle, not knowing anybody, and just making sure that you find some guidance was, for me, very difficult. Like, I thought school was going to be that place when I went to high school, but it wasn't. It was actually, for me, it was CCRI. So when I went to the Rhode Island Education Opportunity Center, I met an amazing counselor that until this day, he is not only my friend, but he was my champion, my cheerleader, and he was the one that allowed me to, understand how to go from one place to the other, even transfer after I graduated. I went back to him. I graduated from Bryan University. I went back to him. Like, I will never leave the Rhode Island Education Opportunity Center and send everybody. So CCRI for me was that organization that became the organization that not only embraced me, but helped me. The language barrier wasn't a barrier for this advisor that like actually really care and believe in me. And I think that because of that experience, I was able not only to have that made an impact in my life, but also I was able to refer so many other people that I met along the way, and everybody was like, that's the place that they're gonna help you. So I became like, that champion as well. So what I say to you at the beginning was that's the connection. But when I graduated from CCRI with my associate's degree, I knew that I always wanted to get back and to make sure that other people have the opportunities that I had, because there is not a lot of guidance or awareness from especially immigrant families. And CCRI was the place that was like, for me, the key place that allowed me to even, get an internship after. Like, it was that connector. So I'll tell you, my experience there was just amazing. And I would say that I just not only felt welcome, but I felt like that was, like I said many times before, like, the door opens there for me. And from there, I was able to just take the risk to do other things. And it has been a lot of amazing opportunities after that. So I'm a champion, I'm a believer. And now I think that I could be, if I could be an example that we could make it with the support. I'm happy that I could be role models, and when I try to talk to the youth and say, hey, if I was able to do it, you are able to do it as well. So it's always about connecting and helping each other. So I'm really appreciative of CCRI and the community there.
Great, thank you very much, Senator Cano. So now, next question, as in why for you. So could you tell us a bit about what did you do while at and then following CCRI?
While at CCRI, Senator Cano, it looks like we went through the same path. Someone told me, when I didn't honestly know about CCRI, particularly CCRI Providence, just it would not make sense if I don't say this. When I came, like I said, I came and I had when I came back to the States, and I had this opportunity, I had this time that I was just waiting, and I was encouraged to go get a GED. So actually, one of the fun facts about me is that I have 2 high school diplomas. I have a high school diploma from Nigeria and a high school diploma from the US. And so as I was getting, the security always said to me, why are you here? She always said that. She's like, you can always go to, she's like, down the street, you can go to CCRI, just go. And so one day I listened to her and I went, and I met Deborah Watson. She's like, you mentioned how you still, meet with and talk to. Yes, she's Deborah and I still talk. And so that's why I'm like, it feels like we went through the same path. And she was just like that great advocate and everything, helped me out. I ended up at, going to CCRI in Providence, in Warwick, but she still was there for me. And then while I was in Warwick, I met Jackie Main. She's another person we met in a very weird way, but I was a part of the mentoring minority. Then it was called Minority Mentoring Program, and had they paired me with a mentor, Camille. Camille Numeric was was my mentor, and she and I just clicked, and that was she helped me go through like the MBTI, the whole Myers-Briggs thing, and that's how I knew I was an extrovert, like all the way. She helped me figure that out and all that stuff. And in addition to that, I have to tell this story because this is what CCRI, the community, can do for you. I got my driver's license, or my driver's permit, and about a few days before it expired, I shared this with my mentor, Camille. I said, this is what's happening. You would not believe it. Between Camille and Jackie, they got on the phone and started calling all the road, like the DMV in Rhode Island, to find a place for me to go get my driver, like to go do my driver's test, so that I can my license, my permit doesn't expire, and then have to, having to start from all over again. They found a place in Middletown, and Jackie took me. So I want you all to know, whoever is listening to this, this is the type of, the community that we have, and I wouldn't, I never forgot or would never forget this, whole experience. And so this was my experience at CCRI. I was also I worked in the office of the Vice President of Student Affairs with Joe, a wonderful, who also became a wonderful mentor. He also helped me, give me his own, advice and mentorship. And he was the one I didn't know about, Brian. And he said to me, he called me one day and he's like, what are you doing after school? And I told him about this other school I'm trying to go to. And he's like, no, I'm going to, basically tell someone about you and hand you over at Brian, and they will take care of you. So that's, again, the type of community, the type of people that we have, and that I met at CCRI. And then, of course, after that, I went over to Brian.
All right, I'm glad you had a wonderful experience, ladies. So now, Evelidis, I'm curious to hear your story now. Could you tell us about your experience as a CCRI student, and what did you do upon graduating with your associate degree?
I think that one of the things that really pulled me towards CCRI was the flexibility in the course offerings. I was working full time when I started at CCRI, and it was very difficult to take like these core courses that are sometimes only offered during the day at other universities. CCRI offered me the flexibility to attend these courses in the evening after work, which allowed me to, be less stressed and still be able to pursue my education. At CCRI, I probably took almost every computer science and cyber course that was available. I was just pretty much trying to learn as much as I can. It was one of those things that it was like a love at first sight for computer science and cybersecurity. So I took as many courses as I could. I learned as much as I could. I networked as much as I could as well. And it was just a great experience. It was definitely my entryway into just the overall cybersecurity world.
All right, thank you, Evelidis, and I'm so happy that you were able to discover your passion as a CCRI student. Thanks for sharing that. So now back to you, Senator Cano. So the next question is, what has your experience been like as a woman in the professional world? So could you tell us about your experience being a woman in politics?
That's a very good question. So being a woman in politics, I'll say that it hasn't been as easy as I thought it would be when I was thinking of saving the world, just like my friend is telling us from the beginning. It's true. I really wanted to make a difference, and like I think to connect the dots, I really wanted to make sure that I make a difference in education, and that's how I started in the school committee. But I'll tell you, as being the first Latina elected in a city such as Patake, that brings a lot of challenges and a lot of responsibilities. And the first barrier that I had from people was, well, you're too inexperienced. Why are you running? You are like, where you come from, right? Like you are so new. I started going to school committee meetings before I decided to run for school committee back in 2011. And I remember I would take notes and I would just really take a deep look of how the committee was, the makeup of the committee was making decisions. And I remember that at that time, the superintendent that was there came up to me and say, "Young lady, what newspaper are you from?" And I was like, "No, I'm just a Caring resident." "Well, nobody really comes to these meetings." I was like, "Well, that's the reason why I think it's important that people come, because we need to make sure that we hold our elected official accountable." And that's how I decided to run for school committee. And when I ran, it was more like a surprise. People gave me the chance. I was the top vote getter, the first Latina, but then that brings the responsibility of making sure that my message was to represent the minority community and to make sure that we can deliver. And that's not always the case. If you don't have the support of your colleagues, then most likely the voice is in the table, but the policy doesn't really change at the beginning. And those were expectations that I had, that it was kind of like phase on, like, oh, wait a minute, I cannot do that because all of these people don't trust me, don't know me, and it's going to take a while to build those relationships, and it's going to take a while for them to understand that the makeup of the city is no longer the same that it was 10, 20 years ago. So that started like that. When I then moved to the city council, it was even worse, because in the city council is way more political, and I felt that as being the only woman, the only minority, again, the only Latina, the culture was pretty separated at that time, where, like, the men in the city council would really underestimate me based on my age. My accent also make a difference at that time. I felt like, they would speak to me louder, or they would think because I have an accent, or they would think that I wasn't really that educated. And I was the only one at that time that had a master's degree in the city council. But it was just the questioning that it was very challenging at the beginning. But I persisted, and I'll tell you now that the experience as a woman in politics is way different, right? I've been around for 8 years in different positions. 8 years could be a long time, but it also could be little time when you only, learning that when you're in the table, there is a process, and there's a lot of different barriers that could come and be thrown at your way. So I only been in the Senate since 2017. I won a special election, but I tell you, the Senate has been a way different experience for me that it was at the local level, because I do believe that I came with the perspective of like all the challenges that I faced in the school committee and in the city council, and more aware of what could happen, and also more secure and confident that I am able to do these because I'm doing it for my community. I'm not doing it for me. I'm just serving the people that deserve to have that voice at that table. So it's been different. And every year it throws different balls with different challenges. So this year, for example, I became the chairperson of the education committee in the Senate. And that is a lot of responsibility. And well, when I was asked, well, I hesitate to say yes, I took the challenge because it's always going to be important to be on the table than be outside the table, right? And then you take a definitely different look at things. And being in the table brings the empowerment that I have from other people behind me that are supporting me and saying, listen, you're not alone doing this, because I said it since the beginning, listen, if I'm gonna do this and I'm going to be the first chairwoman that is Latina in the Senate, like in the whole history of the Senate, if I'm gonna be the first one, I need all the community behind me saying we're doing this together, because I'm only representing the interests of the community and I'm there for the community. So it's been challenging, but I'll tell you, it's been a great experience. And what I do is because what I do and the time that I spend is really because I think that we deserve to make policy that affects the life of all Rhode Islanders. Children in education could be a differentiator in people's life. It was for me. I want others to have the same. So.
All right, thank you very much for sharing that, Senator Cano. Highly inspiring. And yes, I applaud, agree with SNY. So SNY, could you tell us, please, what has your experience been like as a woman in the professional world? So could you tell us a bit about your experience as a woman in your field?
I thought about this question a few times, and there are lots of I am a professor of entrepreneurship, so there are lots of women professors. There are, and also there have been, like, I worked in the corporate world even before I became a professor. However, it's just, sometimes you find yourself being the only person, as Senator Cano was talking, I was just kind of listening to her and going, yes, yes, yes. Sometimes I've kind of gotten used to being the only, and sometimes I could be the only Black person, the only, woman, and the only, and I don't even remember or pay attention. Like, I just go in and I do what I need to do. But it hasn't honestly been bad, because again, like I said, I'm used to it, and I just go in and do what I need to do, and that's it. But in terms of what I do as a professor, I enjoy what I do. It is a joy to do, to do what I do. As Senator Cano was talking, I was like, okay, I really need to connect with her because we share a love of education. And that is something I am so excited about. I get to impart whatever it is that I have to others. And, I bring my passion to my classroom. We just, my students and I, we have fun. I also take that to, the global organization, in terms of the training that I offer and other things, the holistic design approach that I, working with these women and youth. And so it has been, it's been a joy to do what I do, regardless of, the fact that, like I said, most of the time I end up being the only, and you name it, on the table. But I agree with you, Senator Cano, it's better to be on the table. Like, you want to be there seated, and so that, because if you're not, you'll be on the menu. I've heard someone say that, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's actually because that's not originally from me, but I wanted to, I remember hearing that and saying, yes, that is so true. You want to be at the table, you want to, have the voice and be there to have the conversation and be a part of the process. So yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Again, you could have talked for a long time, Senator Cano, and I would have just listened to you because you're very right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, SNY. Very inspiring. So now the same question goes to you, Evelidi. So could you tell us a bit about your experience as a woman in your field? Now that you work for Google, can you tell us?
Yeah, so it's actually, when I first started out in my field, STEM field, specifically engineering, are generally very male dominant. I realized that when I was attending courses, and sometimes there would be, I would go to large courses where there's maybe 100 students and there's probably 2 or 3 females in the whole class and the rest being males. And that's pretty much what it was all through just college and stuff. Like it was a really like early preview as to what my career would be like, because it continued on. When I joined the military, there was also a lot of gender disparity there, where the number of males greatly outnumbered the number of females. One of my jobs, which was with the DoD, the RI National Guard, I was the only female on the team, out of maybe 10 other people. And that was kind of my first experience there. I worked there for about 5 years, and I can relate to a lot of what was said about fighting for your seat at the table, because that was something that I questioned or thought about every single week, being the only female, the youngest, and just feeling like, is this like, I want my voice to be heard? Is this the play? Like, how do I do it? And so I managed to kind of build that confidence. And, when you're passionate about something, you generally want to fight for it and speak up. So I worked on it. I made sure I had my seat at the table, spoke up as much as I could, showed that I, bring value to the team. And, just from there, grew as much as I could. When I went to Google, it was an entirely different experience. Google is probably 80% engineers, and I expected for there to be the gender disparity to show there as well. But their recruitment process and just like overall everything that they do really pushes females like to speak out. They have a lot of teams and conferences that just specialize in that. Every year they have a conference for women where it's just celebrating the accomplishments that women have had at the company and all the great things that they continue to do. Alongside that, they also run an ally conference where they celebrate allies of women who have helped women or supported them in some of their endeavors. So I gotta say, my initial experience into the STEM field was probably it's pretty rough. It was a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm glad that I really stuck through it, and I built the confidence, and I'm able to be at a place now where I feel like I have a seat at the table and I don't have to fight for it.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Evelidis, for sharing that. Now, the next question back to you, Senator Cano. So, what advice would you give to a young woman who aspires to be in your position one day?
Thank you for that. I just want to say, Evelidis, your experience a year up and all of these, perseverance really, really inspire me. And it is awesome that you have that seat on the table, because you know what, at the end of the day, I heard this the other day, and this is what I would say to a young woman: when you have that title, it's because you earn it, right? And then so make sure that you share up yourself as well, because sometimes we could be very hard on ourselves. So what would I say to a young woman? Take the risk, and take the risk with purpose. I think that it is okay to be afraid of what is in the future, because sometimes our future is uncertain, because we don't know what's going to happen. But if you don't take the risk, then you always going to have in your mind, what if I would have done it? So I'm really for taking the risk, because what is the worst that could happen? If you fail, it is okay to fail, because from failing you are able to learn and pick up some of those experience for personal growth, or like you just never know that may take you to a path that you will find the purpose, after that. I think that in really, really few words, one thing that as a young woman, I wish I had was that confidence. I didn't have a lot of confidence when I was younger. If somebody would just tell me, like, just be authentic, right? Just be yourself, because by being yourself, you bring that value and perspective to whatever table, or you can open your doors with the support of others. So I would say take the risk, own it, be have your purpose and be intentional of what you want to do. And at the end of the day, don't be afraid of that fail circumstances that maybe give you a little fear when you're thinking about, should I do this or should I not do it? What's the worst? Just think, what's the worst that could happen? If you fail, like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, nothing really. Like, we need to really be grateful for the failures as well. So that's what I would say, because I wish somebody would tell me that, because I was really, really hard on myself for a long time. Not until recently I've been able to just kind of like chill out and feel more comfortable about those failures too. So yeah.
Yes, very well said. Very well said. Thank you, Senator Cano. So now back to you, as in Wai. So what advice would you give to a young woman who aspires to be in your position one day?
Absolutely. And I am going to also piggyback on what Senator Cano just said. So I'm going to kind of answer the question with a story. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to go back to Nigeria to work for a year. Now, remember, I came back as a teenager, went back to Nigeria maybe once for like 2 weeks, and then didn't go back for a long time, or maybe, and then, I when this opportunity came, a whole year. We're not talking, 2 weeks or any of those things. I meant, it's like to go back to live in a place that I have not lived in, for a long time, and didn't live in as an adult. And I was going to live in a totally new city. And I came up with a term. I call it scared. That's a combination of excited and scared. And so, and I, that was the term. And I kept saying to myself, when people were asking me, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm scared. So I'm excited and scared at the same time. But it's, but it's part of what Senator Cano just said, that you, you take the risk, you own it. And so, you look at fear and you let fear know that you recognize it. It's okay, I see you, but I am still going to do it. I'm going to do what I'm doing, whatever that is, I'm still gonna do it scared. Be purposeful. I hear what she said. If you can, and know your why. What does that mean? When you know your why am I doing this? It will allow you to, when that, issues come up, when, things come up, even while you're doing whatever you're doing, your why, you will remember why you're doing this. I remember, again, going back to the time when I went back to Nigeria to work, a whole bunch of stuff, because again, I've lived my entire adult life here back in the States, and I'm, going back over there to work and live and deal with this. There was some difficult times, but I once I remembered my why, I remember saying to myself, girl, you don't quit. Remember, you don't quit anything. You need to, you need to finish up what you came here for. And I have to tell you, it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my entire life, going there. And so, and there are lots of other things that I can tell, but this is the important things. Do it scared. Understand that that is there, recognize fear, but still, push forward. Know your why, understand your purpose, so that when the time comes, you will be able to remember why you're doing what you're doing. The knowing your why did not come originally from me. Actually, I learned it when I was getting my PhD. They reminded us, to know your why, because so that when you get to a point where it's like, oh my goodness, I have to write that again, I have to do this, like you going through the process, why am I doing this? Because that will help you when the time comes. Thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you, as in Wai, for sharing that. Now, Evelidis, the question goes to you again. So what advice would you give a young woman who aspires to be in your position one day?
I agree with a lot of what was said. Just courage and perseverance are two very important things, especially when you are trying to break through these, you know, what's the word? Just trying to break through these male-dominated fields, pretty much. There are sometimes there's prejudice and stuff, and you have to like it's terrible, but we have to prove that we are just as capable of everything that other people do. And I think that we as a nation are moving towards less gender disparity and more equality, but we still have a long way to go. And I personally, the advice that I would give a woman is just anyone who wants to break through a field like that is just, even if it makes you uncomfortable, even if you're scared, just go for it. It's going to pay off. There's a saying that says, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And that's very true. You have to go for it or you'll never know. And yeah, I mean, even when you're working in these fields like this, there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to stop and you're going to, be scared. You're like what was said already, scared. That's very common. It's happened to me hundreds of times, and I'm just like, wow, I have a word for it now. But it's just, even just standing outside a classroom, being the only female that's going to go in, or having to speak to a room full of people that, about something and prove that you're knowledgeable about it. It's scary, but it's worth it. And once you get past that, it's just, you grow from there. So definitely, like, for anyone out there who is trying to who is scared, you got to go for it.
Thank you, Emily. Lisa, thank you as in why for that new word, scared. I'm going to start using it now. So thank you for that. So Senator Cano, the next question is, can you describe the importance of networking with other women in your field?
Absolutely. I think that I'm scared at very times in, during the day sometimes. And it's okay now, we found out words, so that's good. So you know what? I think that it is super important to network with other women, even if it's not in your field. What I find very fascinating over, the time that I was running for office, or that I've been like putting myself out there in the spotlight, is that I was questioned more by women than I was actually by men on my qualifications and my experience. So I sometimes I feel like we could be hard on each other, and what we need to do is really back her up. We need, men doesn't really do that to men as much as women do to women. So it is important to find that network of people that are in your field or in other fields, but it is as important to empower women lives and careers, right? Because it's not only on the career side, but also the life. We share so many things. And I heard one speech that really make an impact on me from Michelle Obama. One of the conventions where she said, where we are as a country is pretty sad. We as women are still not supportive of one another, but we don't really question the men in the room as much as we question each other, just like I said. And she was speaking about the election back in 2016, and she was like really, really direct and say, how is it that the most qualified woman wasn't really supported by a woman, right? We have and found all of these things when the other person that was really not that qualified really just got in, and that's the story of the past. But that really I see that happens a lot. So as women come into different fields, as women are in different networks, just back her up. Just make sure that you empower that. Just make sure that we together we could certainly be more effective than if we are not. So I always welcome when someone even if you disagree with me and it's a woman, when someone really just reach out to me and say, say, hey, just so you know, like, I think that you as a woman have done A, Y, and C great. This part I think that we disagree on, but I still think that you're doing great, and I still think that I'm here to support you. And even if you have questions about this specific topic that I disagree with, I'm here for you. That is super valuable, and for me is really what makes me grow and what makes me be better as a person. And honestly, not like let's just forget about the professional part of it, and let's look at the life part of like what women are. Women really are multitaskers. When I tell you the best hat that I have is the one of being a mother now, right? I have a little baby, she's 18 months, and I'm not sure what I'm doing. And like, I still feel like I'm a new mom, and I enjoy every time of it. But when I have another mom tell me, hey, try that, I feel like, hey, I have it. And that network is as important as the professional network. So I just want to say, back her up.
All right, thank you, Senator Cotto, for sharing that. So now the question goes to you as NY. So can you describe the importance of networking with other women in your field, or perhaps in general, networking with women?
Absolutely. I'm starting with back her up. It is very important that we support one another. And I agree. I remember when I started at Johnson & Wales, this lady who I'm friends with now, but she came to me and she said, here's my card. If you have any questions, let me know. We were just kind of hanging out, and she just, she just knew I was new. And she came, and we sat together, and every so often, let's go out and have lunch, and let's do this, let's do that. What do you need? I'll send you this. Let's meet. It helps. So it is important to network, and I do the same thing as crazy busy as I am, and everyone that knows me knows that I am so busy. Whenever someone reaches out to network, to talk about something, to get any help, I often people hear me say something like, let me know how I can support you. Mm-hmm. I mean that. It's important, because I didn't get here by myself. People helped me get here. And so I cannot get here and then forget. I can't close the door, behind me. I need to leave that door open. I always tell people, at every point in time, you need to have someone who is mentoring you and someone who you're mentoring. At least someone, if not a bunch of someones. And so the same thing, I will find out, even if it's 15 minutes, of your time, 10 minutes, whatever it is, what can I help you? How can I support you? How can I help you? So networking is important. I did not get here all by myself. And I know that we need to be able to back one another up in whatever it is, give that card, to say, how can I help you? Or if you have any questions, I've been here for a while, let me know how I can support you. It is very, very important.
Yes, very well said. Thank you, as NY. So Evelidis, the same question to you. So can you describe the importance of networking with other women?
Networking is literally could be just groundbreaking. My job at Google and that whole process was through networking. I attended the Grace Hopper conference back in 2017, and the Grace Hopper conference, if I'm just going to explain what it is, just in case you haven't heard about it. It's a conference that celebrates women in technology and other fields, just the celebration of women. So I went to this conference, and I walked in, and there were over 10,000 people there, most of which were women, like probably 95%. And it was intimidating, but also inspiring. The best part of it, what I would say, was the keynote speakers. Every day they had someone come up, a woman who has made amazing impact in the field, and just speak about it. There was when I attended, there was actually someone from Rhode Island that spoke, who invented a company that created STEM toys that were tailored to girls. So she spoke about how she was sick of going into like a Toys R Us and going towards the girl aisle and everything was pink and Barbie, and that's all they had. But then when you would go towards the boy aisle, they would have, you know, Legos or all these little robots and stuff like that. So she created a company that created toys that were still, you know, pink, but still offered girls the ability to just code, build, and just like, you know, provide them with the ability to do that. And I think that company's name was Goldie Blocks, and I believe it was founded in Rhode Island, and I was just blown away by that. And yeah, networking is just, it just really made a difference in my life. When I got hired at Google, I wasn't looking for another job. I attended this conference. They sent me an email. They said, upload your resume for the career fair. And I was like, okay, sure, why not? So I uploaded my resume, and, you know, days before the conference, I got emails from Facebook, Google, and Raytheon saying, hey, we want you to interview with us. And I was like, wow. Usually for these companies, you have to apply, and if you get a call back, you're lucky, like you're just lucky at that point. But here they were reaching out to me saying, hey, you know, come in for an interview. And it was just crazy. I was blown away by that. But I think one of the other things is when you walk into this conference, there was a big room, and there were probably over 150 companies there. All the big companies, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and the smaller ones too. Like even they had a Lowe's booth, they had Home Depot, like stuff like that, Nike, everything. And there were people there who were technical recruiters, and they were doing interviews on the spot. So 10,000 women just walking around and talking to people, and they were doing interviews on the spot. And it was just great because it's kind of like, as a woman in, you know, technology, engineering, it's, you kind of feel like sometimes you have blockers when you get to, you know, when you try to apply for positions and stuff. Sometimes you're applying for a team and you kind of, you know, you have this thought in the back of your mind, oh, it's probably all males and I'm going to be the only female, or maybe they're not looking for a female on the team. But this was just like, it just completely removed that. You're in a room and with all these companies, and you're just surrounded by other women. I met so many people there that I still talk to that work at other top companies too. And it's just, it's great. Like, that's probably the best networking event I've ever went to. And from there on, I pretty much go to every single one that I can. It's life-changing.
Great.
Yes, thank you, Evelides. That's a really powerful story you just shared. So now the question goes back to you, Senator Cano. So the next question is, when thinking about the powerful women that have made significant contributions to the world, which of these women have inspired you the most and why?
So that is a good question. There is a lot of women that make great contributions. So it's very hard, but what I tell you is, I think I mentioned it. I started following Michelle Obama since I was very inspired by the whole campaign since President Barack Obama, you know, became our president. I started following her, and the more that I knew about her, the more that I felt very inspired by the way that she is, even today, right? Not only she has a purpose, she is very classic, she's very educated, but she remained, even when she was the first lady of this country, she remained, like, you know, true to herself, authentic, and very humble. And I think that, like, for me, that is the message that I got from her. Like, you know, she has made a lot of impacts. She is all about making sure that she changed, you know, people's life and encourage a lot of young ladies to, like, you know, reach their full potential. But most of all, she is a person that, you know, don't forget where she comes from. And I want to always have that for myself. Like, I want to make sure that regardless of where I am or not, like, you know, I want to continue being humble and making sure that I never forget where I come from, because it's very easy that egos could take on, and you know, you could lose that purpose. And I would never want to lose that purpose. So I always see, you know, her example as a very valuable one. And she's really, really someone that inspired me. And I continuously, I read her books. I really look at what, like, you know, her trajectory, and it's all about Michelle. After President Obama was elected, for me, it was all about Michelle. So.
All right, thank you, Senator Cano. So now the question to you as NY. So when thinking about powerful women around the world, which of these women have inspired you the most and why?
Very good question. Thank you for this question as well. Just like Senator Cano, a lot of women from I grew up with my grandmother. You know, she just you know, raised 9 children, and you know, under very like extreme circumstances. She and one of my aunts, I tell them all the time, were the reason I actually like behind my global organization. You know, just the things that they've inspired me to do that. And so when I talk to these women out there, and some of the youth, of course, but mainly it all started with women, and then I added the youth afterwards. You know, they remind me, I've seen what they are able to do. But in addition to them, because they are, you know, that they're there as well, and they've inspired me. There is the new head of World Trade Organization. Her name is Professor Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. If you have not heard of this woman, you want to go and look her up. She is, I believe, a force to be reckoned with. I learned about her when I was, you know, when I went back to Nigeria. That was when I learned about this lady, and she would come, you know, to this press conferences, or just whenever you saw her in the news media, she was so confident and knew what she wanted to say and all that stuff. And just her outfit, everything about her, just I loved, you know, just watching her. And so I've kind of followed her since then. And you know, and she is actually who I want to, like, she's where I want to follow in her footsteps, and you know, be like her when I grow up, basically. And so, and I've heard a lot of people, but like when she got the job, a lot of my friends sent me, they're like, I see you like her. Like, they kind of reminded me. I'm like, yes, I know. I've been watching and I've been following her. So you know, she is definitely someone that made a difference. And I love you know, again, watching and following her in her, you know, just watching and seeing how she's where she is and what she's doing.
All right, thank you, as NY, for that. So now, Evelidis, the question is for you. So when thinking about powerful women that have made significant contributions to the world, which one of these women have inspired you the most and why?
So there are many. Anytime that anybody's asked me to write a report on powerful women, I usually try to go towards women in STEM fields, just because I'm just like, I want to read about, you know, kind of the history and the contributions that they made. So one of the probably most known is Katherine Johnson, the main character from Hidden Figures. That movie was just like, I feel like it really just put the information out there on how, you know, how influential women were at that time to the development of, you know, NASA in general, like the whole mission that they were working on. And I've read about it before, but that movie just put things in perspective and just kind of like really just like put it out there. Like just seeing it in live action, all these women, just, you know, all these African American women that were in this small room just punching away at numbers. And then, you know, these men were upstairs and just taking all the credit, and they were just running the reports up, and they were like, yeah, thanks, okay, bye. And that was like, it was seeing that was, you know, I was just like, wow. But it made me realize, like, wow, like women have been doing like so much for so long. And like Katherine Johnson made those, had that impact way back. And it wasn't up until a few years ago where she was awarded the Medal of Freedom by President Obama. And then she passed away, unfortunately, but it's just like, it took like, she made that huge impact and it took so long for it to be recognized pretty much. And that's a common thing, but I mean, I study a lot of different women who've made impacts like that. And that's probably the one that's most influential to me, that I hold dear, that I'm just like, that is amazing.
All right, thank you for sharing, Evelidi. So we're getting now towards the conclusion of the event, but before I end, I wanted to ask each of you the final question, right? So for Senator Cano, is there a woman in your life that has helped you become the person you are today? So when thinking about all the women that you've been surrounded by throughout your life, which one of these women have helped you become the person you are today?
Thank you for that question. I do want to say I do have a tribe of women that have helped me throughout my life. But obviously for me, and everybody that knows me knows that I'm very family oriented. So my mom is, she's a hero, I tell you, like, she has been, my rock and always there and supporting me in good and bad and ugly times. And it comes from my grandmother, so it trickles down. And I'll tell you, lately, my hero has been my daughter, because she transformed me, and it's a different way of, transforming your life. So I am very, very fortunate and blessed to have a tribe of women that have make a difference. I want to highlight my mom, because she really is a person that has been constant throughout. But I also want to make sure that you do know that I have a little one that is only 18 months, that she already transformed my life like no other in only 18 months. So I also want to make sure I give a little love and shout out to my little baby girl.
Oh, cute. Thank you, Senator Cano. So as in why you saying questions. So which out of all women in your life, which one of these women have helped you become the person you are today?
Same thing. It is very, very difficult to say one person. Like to say, oh yeah, this is the one person that made a difference. I want to, I mentioned my grandmother. I grew up with her. Then my aunties. So I mentioned that my grandmother has 9 children. Had, because we lost one of the aunts not a few years ago. And so I grew up with, I was surrounded by all this women, all my aunties, just in one way or the other. Even when I left and came back to the US, I would remember, as I went through all the processes, it's like, I want to make sure that I make them proud, because they had a hand in getting me to where where I am. And then I also met like Senator Cano mentioned, a tribe of women. I mentioned, even while at CCRI, the Jackie Main and Deborah and Camille, and all these different people. And then my friend from Johnson & Wales, Michelle, that gave me her card. So every single one of them have made, and I know I need to stop naming names, because then people will say you forgot me, and I'm going to be in trouble for not remembering other people's names. But I just want to, even if I did not mention you, that every single one of you, have just made a huge difference in my life, and I'm so grateful. So there's no one person, and even again, that I like that Senator Cano mentioned, her child, because it doesn't always have to be the people above. Because remember what I said earlier, You always have to have someone above you and someone below you. And even those below you, they're not below you because they're beneath you. You're just, helping them get up. And even in the process of helping them get up, they are also impacting and helping you as well. You're helping one another in so many different ways. My little cousins, every single one of them have impacted me in one way or the other. So yes, it's a tribe of women.
All right, thank you, Azinwai. So then last question to you, Evelidi. So is there a woman in your life that you can think of that has helped you become the person you are today?
There are several. First, start off my mother, probably the earliest role model I've ever had. She's always been, I've always seen so much strength come from her, and just she emulates everything that I want to be. And everything that I wanted to be as a kid too. I always wanted to be as strong as her, as independent as her. So that's where she's the most fundamental piece to me being who I am today. But there's also, my high school guidance counselor. She was great in helping me find my interests and pushing me towards, out of my comfort zone and to go for things. My college professors also, the feedback that they gave me and stuff, and helping me kind of work through being in an uncomfortable environment, that really helped. But yeah, I also agree, it's a tribe. There's so many. Can't name them all.
Thank you, Evelidi. So yes, so this brings us to the end of our Women's History Month Alumni After Hours. So I'd really like to thank Senator Kano, Ezinwai, and Evelidis for taking the time to share your story with our audience and what it's like being women in society. So it's very important to have these kinds of conversations. So can't thank you enough, ladies, for taking your time to do this. So to everyone in the audience, thank you for joining us and for staying until the end. Please stay tuned for future conversations, inviting CCRI alumni. We have our CCRI Facebook page called CCRI Alumni Association. So please take the time to like and follow our page. And then we also have our CCRI alumni LinkedIn group. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Please stay safe and healthy and have a wonderful rest of your night. Thank you very much again, ladies. All right, bye.